getting closer and closer to the 25-26 NBA season, and somehow the trade rumors are getting juicier and juicier. As I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast, he had Zach Lowe on, and they were discussing the Fran VanVleet injury. And we discussed that on yesterday's show as well, perhaps speculating that being an Anthony Simons trade destination. Bill Simmons and Zach Lowe had a little bit different of an idea that we'll break down on today's show. And then later on, ESPN dropped their top 100 players, and that is always a list that is calls for controversy. 3 Celtics made the list. We'll break down where they were and who were surrounding them on the back half of today's show. Before we get into that, though, training camp is almost here. We can finally start talking about some real hoops on your Celtics this upcoming season. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I'm trying to get to 54,000 by training camp. We are 419 subs away. Get 419 diehard Celtics fans who want free content every single day. Go down below and hit that sub button right now. All right, as we know, Fran VanVleet went down with a torn ACL in a little bit of some offseason work here very, very soon before training camp. Not good news at all for the Houston Rockets, and they're really left kind of without a guard, really without any guard for the most part. There's speculation that they're going to have Amen Thompson run a lot of ball handling duties this upcoming season. I'm not so sure how great of an idea that is just yet in his career. And then you got a guy like Reed Sheppard, who was a third overall pick 2 seasons ago, but hasn't really yet made an impact in his NBA career to this point. And the Rockets, they're a team that is near contention in the Western Conference. They just picked up Kevin Durant. They have Şengün. They have Thompson. Like, they have a legitimate core that is so good enough to win a title in this league. But going down, VanVleet going down really takes away a guy who can kind of calm everything down at the point guard spot. And, oh, by the way, hit 40-foot jump shots. There's no chance, and we were talking about yesterday with an Anthony Simons trade, not really going to work out between the two sides. When it comes to what Anthony Simons makes, what the goals of the Boston Celtics are when dealing Anthony Simons, it is decreasing the stress on their salary cap and shedding some money. Can't really do that with a team like the Rockets, who are hard capped at the first apron. They are $1.5 million away from it. So you can't shed any money in a Rockets trade. And with the players that the Rockets, have on their books right now, there's really no combo that you could make that would equal Anthony Simons' value back, considering what the price is going to be for him towards the trade deadline. So it would make no sense to make an Anthony Simons trade. But if you guys are paying attention and we're looking at the picture of the Celtic player that was next to Fran VanVleet being guarded by at the beginning of today's show, they had a different idea on a trade. And here is kind of how it shaped up. It's a doozy. Derrick White, Houston Rockets. A lot going back to the Boston Celtics. Reed Sheppard, who I just previously mentioned. Be taking a flyer on Reed Sheppard. I'm not going to lie here. You get VanVleet, who will miss this entire upcoming season, in all likelihood, and then you'll have him back on a 1-year, $25 million contract for the 26-27 campaign. But that's, yes, you want some guards, you want some guys who you can believe in, developing, and in VanVleet's case, playing a big role for you in the backcourt. But the real, meat and potatoes of this trade package, this return going back to Boston, is the picks and how valuable these could be down the line in a couple of seasons. They have the 2027 Phoenix Suns pick for this Kevin Durant trade. They also are, for the Kevin Durant trade. They also have the 2027 Brooklyn Nets swap for the James Harden trade way back when. That is uber valuable. The Nets don't look like they're contending any time soon. Also, why not throw in 1 to 2 Houston first? This is the Simmons and Lowe kind of trade framework. Nothing as far as picks-wise were really set in stone, but they were talking about how they kind of have a treasure trove in Houston, a lot of valuable picks, and they wouldn't be a group of 4 unprotected Houston picks. Those are all going to be in the 20s or later. So yeah, give me a sweetener of 1 to 2 Houston first, and then those 2 really, really valuable ones coming from the Suns and Brooklyn in about 2 seasons. Look, the Rockets, and I don't think there's much room for more young talent to kind of jump into this Rockets rotation in the next few seasons where they're going to be contending in the West. Like, they already have a young guy in Jabari Smith. They have, Reed Sheppard would be going back to Boston in this case, but they have him. They have Amen Thompson. Şengün's still pretty young. Tari Easton's still pretty young. Like, they have a lot of players on this roster that are under the age of 26, 27 years old, and there isn't going to be a lot of room for young players in 2027 to be able to get into that rotation there. So they should absolutely do this trade. Strike while the iron's hot. Go get a guy in Derrick White, 31 years old, can do everything for you on the basketball court. Elite two-way talent, and can calm things down from the point guard spot as well, even though it's not exactly his natural position. Ran a ton of it last year in Boston. The Celtics, on the other hand, probably don't do this trade, right? But if they want to really kind of hard rebuild here and set themselves on a new timeline, Then you trade away a 31, 32-year-old Derrick White, who has 4 years left in his contract, will be 35 at the end of it. I don't really anticipate his game falling off of a cliff by then, but again, Father Time is undefeated. The Celtics only do this if they are committing themselves to a Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown rebuild centered around a whole heck of a lot of other young talent. Obviously, Peyton Pritchard, he's near Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown's age as well. He'd be a part of it just due to how valuable his contract is. But if the Celtics want to tank their season, go out there and pick up a guy in Fran VanVleet who's not playing. They got Jayson Tatum who's not playing. Probably going to trade Anthony Simons for nothing. And then, you're led by Jaylen Brown, who could end up having a injury at some point in February or March. Not saying that the actual injury guys, they would low manage them for the remainder of the season to go get themselves a priority lottery pick. And then you have yourselves a nice young piece who can contribute right away next year. And then you have two picks in 2027 that are just dynamite. I don't see any way in which Brooklyn and Phoenix are not in the lottery in 2027. So you're going to put yourself in a really, really good spot to build a new, pretty much overhauled roster completely from where you were when you won a championship. The Rockets picks, though, they don't help you for a while. Like, in 2027, 2028, Jaylen Brown's going to be 30. Tatum's going to be 29. Those guys don't help you until, probably the following year, 2028. They're not ready to go and compete for a championship. A team filled with, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, whatever center you find and develop over the next couple of years. Maybe one of these guys is that guy. And then a bunch of first through third year players kind of rounding out the rest of it. It's not going to win a championship most likely, unless those guys, you strike on a Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum at a third overall selection or something like that. Maybe Sheppard does develop into what people thought he could have been, like a ball handling type of Klay Thompson player when he was originally drafted. Obviously not, maybe not that high of a ceiling, but that's the gist of it. But these picks wouldn't help you for a long time at this point. And Derrick White is also one of Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum's boys. Like, how do you justify making this trade, especially when you consider, Simmons was talking about this. Tatum went on this whole media tour yesterday, talking about this rehab, this recovery process is going so well. I'm going to come back at 100%. Might even come back this season. How do you justify all the work that he's putting in, or trading Derrick White when he's putting in all this work? How do you justify trading Derrick White when Jaylen Brown's putting in all this work? He had a knee procedure done. He had a partially torn meniscus. He's coming back from injury. But so that's hard. It's hard to justify in that scenario. But Zach Lowe kind of had this counterpoint when he was talking with Simmons. He said it's a tough phone call to Jayson Tatum. And on the other hand, though, Tatum's has an NBA title, several first-team All-NBA appearances, and is about to make $71.5 million in 29-30. Not that he's greedy, but he knows how much of the cap space percentage that takes up. So I would hope he would see the bigger picture. The Celtics are only going to win another championship with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown if they find really cost-efficient assets that can contribute for long stretches. They've done that with a couple of guys. Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, they each make $8 to $10 million a season. You're not going to find a lot of, guys like that outside of guys on rookie contracts, to be honest. Those guys are a dime a dozen. You already have two of them. So they're probably going to have to find some guys through the draft. And with the situation they're in right now, it's not super likely that they're going to have I'd say, priority pick. There's a chance it's high lottery, but or I should say low lottery. But the odds of them being in a position where they are getting a top 10, top 5, maybe even top 3 selection, it's pretty low if you keep Derrick White around. Who I'd want personally in a Rockets trade for Derrick White, I'd want Jabari Smith. This guy's a dog, absolute rebounding dog, can hit the outside shot, can defend multiple positions, can run them at the 3, 4, 5, depending on what kind of lineup you're running. I love Jabari Smith, only 22 years old. I think he's only tapping in to what he can become as an NBA player. I'm not the biggest fan of Sheppard, but we know what the Celtics have been able to do with number 3 overall picks. Jabari Smith is number 3 overall pick himself, so that's who I would want, but I don't think the Rockets would go for that, considering that they'd be giving away as much draft assets and capital as they would. With that being said, would you make this trade? It's wild. It's not going to happen, but if the idea was out there and the Rockets really, really, really were in love with Derrick White, it would cost them a whole heck of a lot than a lot of other guards would in this league. But would you do this trade of Sheppard, Fran VanVleet, and 4 first-round picks, 2 of them being very, very valuable, coming back to Boston? A for accept, D for decline. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. I think I've accepted that there's a pretty low chance. Not saying that there's no chance, but there's a pretty low chance that Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derrick White, by the time these contracts are up, win another championship. It's pretty low chance. A lot would have to go right. So I would accept this deal and go into this new timeline for Jayson Tatum. And then I would go cry in private that Derrick White's not a Celtic anymore. I would never want to trade Derrick White under really any circumstance. But the Rockets in this situation would probably be giving you as good of an out as you could get in a Derrick White scenario. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are probably still going to be pretty good from 30 to 34. So you're going to have that kind of new timeline, that new era with if you made a trade like this. I would accept it, but I would not be happy about it whatsoever. Next, we'll talk about the ESPN Top 100 list. It's controversial. 3 Celtics made it. We'll tell you who's around them in just a moment. First, though, I got to tell you guys about this awesome deals. Hats on sale over at chatsports.com/Celtics hats. Got the corduroy one. Got this nice design one as well. These are in style. I got the rope, you got the cream, you got the color brim. That's dope as well. I like this one, the khaki. It's a little my speed. And then they got this nice city skyline one as well with the Boston skyline in the back. You can get them at this link right here, chatsports.com/Celtics hats. That's chatsports.com/Celtics hats to get yours today. That link's in the comment section and description of today's video. Alrighty. So we're in a spot where Peyton Pritchard is the top 100 player in the National Basketball Association, baby. 97th overall, Peyton Pritchard. Now, that can mean a lot of things. Who is above him? Who is in front of him? Or who's behind him? Who's in front of him? We got to break that down right now. Behind Peyton Pritchard, rounding out the top 100 players, R.J. Barrett, Stephon Castle, Walker Kessler. And I'm honestly kind of raw reacting to this for the first time. I haven't really thought about it in too much depth. I was kind of just getting the names on there. I'd say he's absolutely more valuable than R.J. Barrett. Not enough of a floor spacer, not enough of a defender to justify the lack of a three-point shot on him. Stephon Castle, 1 year in the league, so I'm gonna give Peyton Pritchard the edge, but I like Stephon Castle a lot. Walker Kessler, tough to compare those two guys. To be honest with you, a 7'2" player to a 6-foot player who makes half-court shots. This guy makes shots right at the basket, so it's tough to compare those guys. I probably flip a coin. If I was the Celtics, if basically this, would I trade Peyton Pritchard for Walker Kessler? I would absolutely consider it. Just above Peyton Pritchard, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I would not trade Peyton Pritchard for Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I don't think. I definitely wouldn't trade him for P.J. Washington. I would consider trading him for Devin Vassell. I think I would trade him for Devin Vassell. But you also got to consider Pritchard is making such a elite team-friendly contract right now that it's hard to justify trading him for literally anybody in this league. If the guys are making the same amount of money, would I trade Peyton Pritchard for him? No. Him, yes. Him, no. Yeah. No, I would trade him for Devin Vassell. I think I would. Look, Peyton Pritchard no doubt will rise on this list, I think, with the opportunity that he's going to get this upcoming season. He's going to be the Celtics starting point guard. Plain and simple. He's going to get a lot of run. He's been one of the most durable players in the NBA in his career as well. So, like, who knows? Guy like Derrick White gets shut down for a couple of weeks because tweaks his knee, but I don't know. The Celtics want to take their time with it and probably don't mind losing a good number of games this season. Peyton Pritchard is going to be out there no matter what. I don't think that he is going to be a fan of load managing or taking time off that he doesn't need to take. So Pritchard's going to be playing a lot of basketball this year. I think he's going to be a lot higher of a rank and basically everybody's list across the board this time next year. We're going all the way up to basically the top now. Derrick White was the 26th ranked player in the NBA per ESPN. Hell yeah. This makes me want to trade him even less. I love this. Super, super cool here. Right behind Derrick White, people that ESPN thought that Derrick White was better than Jaren Jackson Jr., Scotty Barnes, Trae Young, Tyrese Maxey, and Karl-Anthony Towns. So there seemed to value the two-way ability of Derrick White here over a guy like a Trae Young or a Tyrese Maxey, even a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, who isn't the best defender all around. And you got a guy like Jaren Jackson, who, you know, his offensive game is interesting, I should say. Scotty Barnes kind of fell off a little bit. I would take Derrick White over Scotty Barnes personally. Towns and Maxey is where I get dicey, but mad respect to Derrick White for getting the 26th overall spot here. Just above Derrick White. I would take him over a couple of these guys, not all of them though. Sengun, due to the age, I would absolutely trade Derrick White for Sengun if they're making the same money. Holmgren, due to the age, I would, but if you ask me to win a basketball game tomorrow, I'm taking Derrick White. James Harden, I would not. Absolutely not. I think Derrick White probably, I mean, throw him in a playoff game. He's absolutely better than James Harden at this point. Siakam, no. Bam, no. I think it's pretty evident. We saw Pascal Siakam be the second best player, maybe even the best player, best scorer on a NBA Finals team this past season, and he was awesome. Pretty good defensively as well. Bam, we know is an elite defender, maybe the most underrated in the league, even though a lot of people know he's great. Number 19, Jaylen Brown. We also kind of just went over who the guys right behind Jaylen Brown were, as they were right above Derrick White. So I would not trade Jaylen Brown for basically any of the guys that we just talked about. I think he's clearly above Şengün, Holmgren, Harden, Siakam, and Adebayo. But people that are above Jaylen Brown on this list: Jimmy Butler. And then right in between the Bam Adebayo ranking and Jaylen Brown, by the way, Kawhi Leonard. He was at 20. I am not trading Jaylen Brown for Kawhi Leonard right now. I mean, what a nightmare that is over in Los Angeles. Just above Jaylen Brown, though, Jimmy Butler. I would not. No, absolutely not. And even if I had to win a basketball game tomorrow, I'm taking Jaylen Brown. Paolo Banchero. Now we're talking. Like I would take Paolo Banchero, I think, over Jaylen Brown. Devin Booker. As my number 2, I think I would take over Jaylen Brown. As my number 1, I think I would take Jaylen Brown. And maybe that's crazy to say because we haven't even seen it yet. And we have seen Booker be the number 1. But I just like the two-way ability a little bit more for Brown, especially in an NBA game. Devin Booker, his Olympic performance is awesome, but you get him in an 82-game NBA season, he ain't playing a lot of defense. Donovan Mitchell, I'll take D-Mitch. He's made All-NBA first team. He's straight buckets. And then Anthony Davis. I wouldn't trade Jaylen Brown for Anthony Davis if they were making the same money right now, which they're making close, but just too injury prone for me, too old, not really worried about that. So, and then if I had to take Brown versus all these guys in a game tomorrow, stacks up with all of them, no doubt about it right there. And he's just good. He's a better defender than 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's the way. That's what I think. What do you guys think? What's the biggest mistake that ESPN made? Where would you have some of these guys ranked as far as where their peers were around them? Let me know down in the comment section if ESPN's list was right, wrong, or they were too high on some of these Celtics. That could be the case as well. Give me a follow over on Twitter. That will do it for today's edition of Celtics Today by Chat Sports. At Tyler J. Smith, 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. Ramp it up for the content on the way to training camp. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, let's go C's.